Welcome to Indie Music Podcast, episode 319, Keeping That Feeling. Indie Music Podcast now has a Patreon at patreon.com/indie_musiccast. And we invite you to become a member for exclusive benefits. For next to nothing per month, you can get members only podcast video, early access to episodes, merch, and more. This morning, Matt and I get together for coffee and talk about staying motivated today by continuing to remember and experience why you got into music and audio in the first place. Enjoy the show. Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
How's it
How
going?
is my audio? Am I loud?
Talk a little bit more.
Talk a little bit more. So there's a squirrel outside making some weird noises.
It's a little bit broken up, maybe too much gain.
Oh, interesting. How's that? Any better?
Tell me about the squirrel.
Oh, I don't know. I just heard some weird grunting and stuff outside, and I didn't think it was a crow. I think it was a squirrel. I mean, I sound good to me. I just don't know how I sound to you.
Yeah, I'm trying to get an idea how to explain it. It has a bit of, maybe it's a little bit saturated, maybe.
Yeah, well, it's a different mic than usual, so it's going to sound different, but I just wanted to know if my level was okay.
Yeah, the level's okay.
Okay.
I think there's some more sibilance than before.
Okay.
And it might be, it has a little bit of a sound like it's a little too hot into the pre or something like that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I have it dialed back, but yeah, this is a test. I'm gonna do some different mics to see how they work.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just lean back a little bit. So this is a SM58.
Oh, there you go.
I have it run. Yeah, no, just maybe I won't eat the mic. Sit back a little bit, and yeah, I have it running through my Dynamite mic pre, which adds, I think, like 28 dB of gain, which is probably more than a SM58 needs, but you know.
Yeah, I think you definitely have some room. I like that was an improvement as far as what I'm hearing.
Just leaning back.
Just leaning back a little bit. Yeah.
Good to know.
It gets better and better. So if you could just go back to the window
until you can't hear me, and then you can just do the podcast.
Yeah, I can't hear you now. This sounds great.
Oh, it's funny. I see you made a conscious effort to switch up your shirt today, your look.
I got a compliment from my wife. She likes salmon on me.
Oh, my wife likes salmon on me, and I don't necessarily like it on me, but wife's gonna wife.
You know, it's sort of like, it's a laundry thing, really. So
oh yeah. I thought you were just trying to go the opposite of last week, where you look too much like me with your band shirt and your.
No, I've been looking around for my old flannel though, because I really want to do like this grunge thing.
Oh.
But
yes, I think I got rid of mine. They're just not that fashionable around here unless you were like really entrenched in IT. Then it's like the IT uniform, the jeans with the belt and the flannel shirt and the gut and the pencil protector and the phone on the hip.
Pencil protector. Yeah, and the neck beard.
And the neck beard. Oh God. How are you, man?
I'm doing good, thank you. So you got some new gear. I got there new gear.
Oh, yeah.
And also
you're telling me about that. Tell me about that. Tell us.
Also new gear right here.
Well, people on the audio can't hear. They can't see what you're pointing at.
Can you? Well, they should watch YouTube then.
They should watch YouTube.
I'm facing away from the camera here, but yeah. So VU meters, and they're actually working.
Oh, you didn't tell me you got VU meters.
Yeah. And I got those so that I could monitor in between or before or after my outboard gear, so I can get an idea of what levels are going in, and then do a quick switch and compare to levels coming out. or I could use one left meter and right meter and look at just both left channels in and out and compare, and then switch them over. And I can just I got it set up into my patch base, so I can really do whatever I want there.
Nice.
And then I'm making a bit of a expansion into mastering services and providing mastering to cassette. And so I got a really nice studio quality Nakamichi recording deck back here for cassettes, and that is not where it's going to go. I wouldn't put it on top of my amplifier because it gets hot there, when the amplifier's on. But I have no idea where to put it right now. I sat here for 30 minutes this morning just trying to visualize what my workflow with it's going to be and where I'd like to have it, which led me down a rabbit hole of looking at studio furniture and all kinds of stuff. And then I was like, I got to back off of that and think of something. Happen.
Well, that's hard because, normally when you're building out processes, you try something and see how it works, and then you iterate or you modify it. But when you're talking about a situation where you have to figure out how to plug something in and cable lengths and routing and stuff, you kind of want to pre-plan that as much as possible.
Yeah. And now it can end up being far away from me like it is now, because it has an 8-pin DIN input that will accept a remote control. Oh. And so I can have and you can still get them. Like if I tried to find the Nakamichi remote for this one, they're like ridiculously expensive for the original ones. But people are actually making remote control, like actual remotes with a little 8-pin DIN RF receiver, and those aren't really affordable. So I could put it around somewhere and just use a remote control to control record playback and functions from here, so that because I need to be here to with these transport controls to synchronize recording to there and hit the buttons at the same time, so and again, like you said, I'm trying to I only want to make the cables once,
right,
exactly. And if I cut them to fit a shorter area and then decide to go longer, then I'm out. Those cables are going to go hang on the wall, so or I'll end up using the cable ends on different cables or something.
Well, it's wasted effort and wasted
material. But so for now I'm just going to use long cables on it wherever it goes until I figure out where it's actually going to live. I kind of in my mind am envisioning kind of a sidecar kind of thing, kind of on top of my rack is where my iMac sits, and an option would be figuring out a way to relocate my iMac onto like a floor stand or something behind my rack, and then use the rack top for the recording deck, which would be really great because it'd be right there within hands reach, so but yeah, anyway, that kind of studio problems,
They're nice problems to have.
Yeah, but I picked up I got mastering tapes. Yeah, I'm basically ready to go. I just got to get the cabling in and figure out where the scene goes, and go through a process of cleaning and calibrating, just make sure everything's working as expected, and should be up and running if barring any unforeseen problems that I haven't even plugged it in yet, so it just came out of the shipping box, and so I have to go through and test it and everything and see.
I was going to say, yeah, you might want to make sure it works before you go to all that other trouble.
Yeah, but I got to get my cables together to test it out and see what it's doing. And I'm also considering, part of the calibration is to compare the source audio with the with the recorded audio. And for levels, and you can do that in a like a waveform analyzer, and so I need to figure out if there's a way in the tools that I have in my DAW where I can say, okay, here's the signal I'm sending out, and then overlay the signal that is coming back from the monitor out of the tape deck and compare those two. And because
you should be able to use that AB meter plugin.
Okay. Yeah, if I can use something like that in the DAW, then that'll give me, and use it ears too, because you want it. But you can send out a like a test tone, like a 400 and a 10K, and compare those, and then set that, and then set the bias and compare the different biases adjustments for. And it's been pretty fun learning about.
I was gonna say, it sounds like a fun project for you.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's been so long. I mean, like if I know, you and I at our age range, tape machines, recorders were a big deal, and
Yes.
And for us, cassettes were the only way that we could take our music portable with us.
Correct.
And
Walkman.
Yeah, Walkman. We had tape decks in our cars. Before that, and it was just a little bit before my time, but there was 8-track.
I had 8 tracks.
Yeah, and I had some 8 tracks too. They were kind of left over from my older brothers, and I actually
got hand me down 8 tracks.
Yeah, and I had that. And to be honest, with the first music I ever bought was on 8-track. And it was the Rolling Stones.
Okay, mine was AC/DC.
Oh, was it? And I had gotten a Christmas present, which was my first stereo. It was a kind of a console stereo type of thing that had an 8-track AM FM radio tuner and a turntable all in one, with an amplifier and all of the and speakers.
Right.
And I had that on my desk when I was a kid, and so that was the greatest Christmas present. It was my first stereo, and I didn't have any albums. I didn't have, and so that was kind of the beginning to my interest in listening to music. I mean,
right.
It's kind of neat, and kind of thinking about that, and interest in recording and interest in audio production, and also as being a musician, what kind of things today still push you forward and keep you going. I mean, do the things that that when you were a kid that got you into music. I mean, do you remember like standing maybe outside looking in the window, or I don't know about you, but I spent like hours in music shops with looking at guitars on the walls, and and that feeling of man, I got to have that guitar, and going in and dreaming about it like every day, a first name basis with the with the sales guys, and talking to them about stuff. And anyway,
no, I didn't. No, thank you for that was going to be my line as you talked about your stereo. I was going to lead us back to, and so Doug, does your interest in music stem from those days, and is it about the same as it was back then? It's funny. Music was a mystery to me in terms of how it was created, and it wasn't until MTV rolled around that I was like, I want to do that. Basically watching Def Leppard and going, I want to do that. And I couldn't make up my mind. Do I want to be Joe Elliott, or do I want to be, Phil Collin? But I do remember just being so, my mom had a stereo, and she had just an enormous vinyl collection. Back then we just called it a record collection because that's all there was, records, right? Yeah. And I would play all of her. She had all of the Beatles. She and my aunt went back and forth, like it was famously one or the other. My aunt was Elvis and my mom was the Beatles, and they just like, I don't know why it had to be one or the other, but so I listened to all the Beatles and Simon & Garfunkel and it's all kinds of stuff. And eventually we upgraded that stereo to a component stereo, with a CD player, and that was a huge deal. And then it was kind of like realizing you had to rebuy all of your stuff, starting with all the Beatles on CD, and then cassettes, of course. But yeah, my kind of like my earliest memory of being just entranced with music and enamored with it was just listening to AM radio, before there was a way to do this. And I had, like one of those Radio Shack portable cassette recorders, the kinds of the handles that pop out and the big clicky buttons.
Yeah.
And then you eject the tape, and sometimes it would fly out because that mechanism, that spring was so strong. And just like sitting in front of the stereo for like hours waiting for my favorite songs to come on so that I could hit record and listen to them later through this tiny little, probably 2-inch stupid speaker. And then then it was 8 tracks and going to the swap meet and buying cassettes and vinyl. And that was the side that I was interested in, the listening, the collecting. And it wasn't until MTV that I was kind of like, oh, I want to do that myself. But that became latent because I felt like, and I think I've told this story before somewhere, that even at 13, I felt like I was too old to start a music instrument, and I kind of changed gears then and didn't come back to it until I was in my 30s. Although, no, that's not true. That's guitar. I did play drums in college. I bought a drum set and I played drums in college with my roommate's band, and then started my own 3-piece. And then when we moved up here, I had to put the drums away because we lived in a flat and there was no place to play them. So yeah, it was kind of a latent thing until until much later in life when I had kids and wanted to teach them what it looked like to practice an instrument. And I bought a guitar and then fell in love with it all over again.
Yeah. The whole guitar side was different for me than the audio production side. And when I was younger, and this is probably more around when I was like 19 or 20 or so. And my only experience with audio at that time was home audio stuff. And I had the opportunity to mess around with like a 4-track cassette recorder a little bit, but didn't really know much about them or anything, and they were kind of a mystery. But I had this friend, he worked for this company, which is just a little small business. Their name was Midwest Concert Systems, not around anymore. They actually kind of got bought out, and they're a company that still exists now. And they were pro audio, live sound reinforcement, rental. Okay. And they also provided sound engineers to bands. So it was kind of a full service, you can rent our gear and a sound man for your gig, thing.
That's cool.
And I thought that was cool too. And anyway, my friend worked for them, and he was actually running sound at that time. And I was just interested. So I used to, and it was below the music store that I used to go to.
Oh, okay.
And so I'd hop downstairs into his shop, and he'd be like, I'd go down there and there's just like a wreck of cables and snakes and everything from, they just got done offloading or from last night's gig, and everybody threw everything on the floor and went home and went to bed.
Yep.
And so it's like, oh, you want some help? And so he taught me how to roll cables at that point.
That's a good skill.
It is. And of course, the first thing I did is I grabbed a cable and I started going
like this,
and he's like, stop,
do not roll it around your arm. I do that with extension cords.
And so he taught me the rollover, and to create the coil and stuff. And so, but anyway, I just found myself like going back down there and just need any help with anything, and helping him out. And eventually he took me out on a gig with him. And I just kind of got to observe, and he was kind of showing me what everything was on the board and the amps and effects and stuff like that. And then I got to actually do a gig one time because he was unavailable. and I'd been out with them several times, and it was a low profile, just a local bar gig, not a big deal. Just go out and run sound, and it went okay. It didn't have any feedback or anything like that, and
That's important.
Nothing
That's
bad happened,
right?
So it was good, and so I got my feet wet that way. It's kind of someone is always there to kind of help you in somehow.
Yeah.
There, I think you never do anything entirely on your own. And so networking and other people are really important, friends, and and I remember that feeling of just being in the room with all the cables, cleaning up the mess, getting things organized, and just feeling like I was useful.
Right.
And I hadn't even done anything with audio yet. I was just like, but that felt great, and I think trying to hang on to that kind of initial feeling, even like the music store, gazing and dreaming about the guitar and why you want to play, or that feeling of just being in the scene that you're into, and getting to mess around with it's fun. I get to mess around with cool audio gadgets, and because I think that's it's a lot of fun, and it gets more fun when you can start getting cool things to happen as a result of working with the cool audio gadgets, and you get the results and things. But I think it's easy to lose that feeling and kind of get lost in.
Yeah, it can be. And I think it's, I don't know if it's that whole beginner's mind thing and refining it. And I just think that, we're such creatures of habit that once we start going down a path, that path becomes well known. And once it's well known, that it loses its magic and mystery. Also, and I think this is partially true, even when you do something that you love, if you do it for money, at some point it's a job, right? And it becomes something you do over and over, and it's not only not new, but it's something that you have to do, and then it can lose its magic and mystery then too. So I think it is important I think the implication here, I think it is important to kind of rediscover that magic and mystery and interest periodically, as part of the process, if you find that you've kind of misplaced it. I won't say lost it. I'll say misplaced it.
Yeah. Well, I kind of get renewed every time a new song comes in,
And
I'm back there, and because it's all square one every time. I think that's one of the things I love about not using, any type of template that just sets up and presets and things like that. I just am into the whole process of starting from scratch, and just building it, and because that's the creative part,
right.
And if I find myself wanting to go to a preset or something like that, then it's kind of a flag for me, because it means that I'm not getting what I want organically, so I usually step away then. I do like to use presets for ideas, though.
Sure.
And I'm not opposed to, even for myself or anybody else, to grab a preset, go through. A lot of these tools have lots of presets. In DAWs, and to go through them and to listen to what's going on with each preset, and then to look at the settings on the presets and why does it sound that way. Because that's a way you can really learn how to use your plugins.
Right.
You don't really.
Sometimes it's something that you wouldn't have thought to do yourself necessarily, and
you're
like, oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
But you don't have that ability in outboard gear like that.
No, right.
Unless it's something with recall, DAW plugin companions that that you can set, and automated rotary volume pots or levels, and things like that on whatever tool it is. which I don't have any of those. Be kind of nice to have. There's a couple out there like the Better Maker and who else does that? Does Wes Audio have something? I think. Anyway, sure. But those tools are pretty cool, especially for the recall part, and being able to bring up the plugin in the in your DAW, and then all your controls just set to where they were in your last session automatically on the hardware.
Right.
But, yeah. Anyway, a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about is they go hand in hand. You're talking about discovery, and I think discovery, that's what beginner's mind and creativity are all about, right?
Yeah.
So you're coming into a project fresh, and then it is new and exciting. And yeah, discovering, new clients, new bands, new songs, and what can I do with this, and what's in here, and yeah, that stuff, that is fun. That is exciting.
Yeah. I think another thing is working with lots of different genres makes that fun too. Makes it more possible, to have to mix things up and not have everything be the same. Oftentimes you get into the same artist and same band, and their songs are sonically similar in the same album, and you're very close to the same settings all the way through their album. There'll be some tweaks and differences, but because of the way that they've all recorded and who they are and the way they play, and it just stands to reason that there's going to be a lot of similarities in the way that the audio is processed from song to song. But
yeah, especially, I mean, from a mastering perspective, because you want them all to sound like they belong together, so they kind of should sound of a piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes there's intentional departures from that through the, maybe the song is going through, like within a song, you can have a dynamic kind of cadence, and you can expand on that out to the whole album, where there's just a dynamic flow throughout the entire album, and so sometimes it may be that there's like a drop, but the drop isn't in the pre-chorus or something like that. It's the song is the drop of this album of 10 songs, as we're moving through, and this is like the artistic the vision of the overall album and how it tells a story in some way, or shares a feeling, and I think that's really cool. That's one of the sequencing is really important. And
in telling that story and taking the listener on an emotional journey over the course of an album, I think.
Bands like Pink Floyd were like, to me, they created it. That was my first experience in that. I'm sure others did too before them, but the way that their music was, you almost felt worn out by the time you were done listening to the entire album. Just going through it, it was.
Yeah, Pink Floyd for sure. I think Sgt. Pepper's was the for being the first, like the album that created the album format as a art form unto itself.
The Who, Tommy.
Oh, Tommy. Oh my God, yes.
But yeah, so anyway.
So I think, so discovery is huge, and having that kind of open beginner's mind and is important in keeping that flame alive. But
maybe that's the way to get it when you're kind of in a lull or in a funk, and is to just clear off the table and kind of start from a blank slate, and come back to that whole train of thought that you had a long time ago.
I've done that where I'm like, okay, and I think I've given this advice, at least I've given it to myself, where I say, okay, learn everything and then forget everything that you learned and see it fresh.
Because sometimes you find yourself, okay,
knowledge is in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Where everything's getting kind of mechanical.
Right.
And yeah, I'm going to do this because I know it works, and and that type of thing. Isn't quite, it's nice, but it's not really fun. It's not as creative.
Yeah,
It was creative the first few times,
yeah. Right. Yeah, that's when it becomes a job, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, I guess, the whole job thing is the working in the business part, and the whole having fun and passionate is working on the business, I guess, and so not the books, and not the taxes, and not trying to get sales and all that, but actually having
The
music
processes.
to work on, and
Yeah.
doing what we do. The other part is just like, you can't wait to get that done,
Sure.
So,
Well, sometimes you can't wait to get it done because you have something else in the pipeline and you want to do something new.
Yeah. But I mean, I can't wait to get the books done, or can't wait to get get a stamp invoice out, or whatever.
I can't wait to get the books done.
And
the books can wait. You can wait till April. Kidding. I do monthly reviews now.
Yeah, so if you're one of Matt's clients, you've got
Months.
till October or November before you're going to get
that. Nope.
It's like interest free. So get hold of Matt, get your work done, because
killing me, man. Yeah.
I have no idea if we like got to the bottom of that topic.
I think we kind of did. I think there's some nuggets in there. Whenever I'm doing post, I'm like, anybody who's stuck with it this far, they found that gold nugget. Sometimes it comes at the 30-minute mark, but
yeah,
it's in there.
So stick around, because you might find something. Yeah, I'm telling you here at the end of the
right.
But,
funny aside. The person who I learned to roll cables from was an ex Grateful Dead roadie who was an administrative assistant at my job one day, and I don't know how we got on the subject of I was probably rolling something up. No, here she goes. Here, let me show you how to. It was probably up like a power cord from a computer. She's like, no, here, let me show you how to do that. And she showed me how to like properly roll a cable. I'm like, look, she's gray haired lady. I'm like, where did you learn to do that? She goes, oh yeah, I used to be a great roadie for the Grateful Dead. I'm like, who would have guessed? That's funny.
There is no one in the entire universe that you would want to teach you that other than her. So
right. It was kismet. Stuff like that happens sometimes. But yeah, what I expect in San Francisco, you can't swing a cat without hitting a musician or somebody with a connection to some historical figure here.
Yeah. Well, I guess, the whole thing is, go back to where it all began, and what originally like got you feeling, inside, where you're like, wow, and got that dream going, whatever it is for you. And
I think that's good advice.
And don't lose touch of that, because that's even if you I don't know, if like me, I still have that guitar. I ended up getting it, and then I dreamed about another guitar, and then another guitar, and then another guitar.
That does happen, yes.
And so keep that dream going.
Yeah, I think that the key is to you can get caught up in the what and forget the why.
Yeah,
and it's important to go back and revisit the why.
What the why?
What the what?
What the why?
Right, man.
I think I'm gonna that's gonna be the title of the show. What the why?
What the why? I like it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to get clickbaity enough that people actually
pay attention.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Well, enjoy the rest of your day, man. It's good
talking. Yeah, you do the same. Everybody,
listeners, thanks you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming on this journey with us today.
We are on a journey.
We don't know where we're going.
No, we're
We're on a journey.
meandering all over the place, but it's a
Stumbling.
journey. You know, there's a point A where we started and point B is unknown.
That's right. All right. Cheers,
We
everybody.
have no plan.
We don't have a plan. We're just making this up.
We just
I think that
like to
shows.
talk
I
to
think
each
they
other.
can tell. I think they can tell.
All right. Peace, everybody. Cheers.